I won't be a good kid for free anymore. After all, my spoiled sister gets everything she wants. To provide some background, I am a 24-year-old woman with a younger sister who is 15. Our mother, who was never in a committed relationship with our father, married my stepfather when she became pregnant with my sister. My stepfather, significantly older and quite wealthy at the time, became part of our lives when my mother decided to marry him, leading us to move 4 hours away from my grandparents and father. My grandparents had been my main caregivers since birth. Without delving too deeply into my subsequent living situation, it's important to note that I have been diagnosed with CPTSD and severe anxiety, conditions stemming from my time living with them. From the outset, my sister was overly indulged to the point of being spoiled rotten. Over the years, I attempted to warn my mother and stepfather that she wouldn't simply outgrow her behavior, as they believed. Her actions have been extreme. She has screamed, thrown objects, struck people, threatened to lie to Child Protective Services, and insulted our mother and her father in deeply offensive terms. She even went so far as to verbally abuse our 95-year-old grandmother and physically harm our other grandmother. Despite this, the approach to discipline in our household has been virtually non-existent. My stepfather, due to his advanced age, is reluctant to discipline her for fear of losing her affection during his remaining years. Consequently, the responsibility falls to our mother, who is mentally fragile and easily overwhelmed. As my sister's behavior continued unchecked, I was cast as the good child, a role that demanded my silence and compliance. My perceived responsibility and maturity were necessitated by the absence of these qualities in my stepfather and mother. This dynamic led them to depend on me excessively, even though their support for me has been minimal. Throughout my time living with them, and even during high school, financial support for necessities like lunch money or clothing came from my grandparents. They even provided me with a car when I turned 18. After graduating high school, I moved out to attend college and began therapy. Through therapy, I realized that the people-pleasing behavior I developed while living with my family was severely hindering me. I've since been working on breaking free from this pattern. It's also worth mentioning that throughout all this, my mother and stepfather have not provided me with financial support. While my parents did cover one semester of my junior college tuition, approximately $2,500, and paid for my braces when I was 10, these contributions seem minimal in comparison to the lavish spending on my sister. They invest around $10,000 each semester for her private school tuition, provide her with a $1,000 monthly allowance on her debit card, and even bought her a new Porsche, which she isn't old enough to drive yet. Last year, my mother even asked me to forego celebrating my own birthday to attend my sister's cheerleading nationals in Florida, a sacrifice I made willingly to support my sister, despite never receiving similar consideration during my high school years. It's clear that much of this financial support stems from my wealthy stepfather, and I'm aware that as his stepchild, I shouldn't expect the same level of support. However, there seems to be an expectation for me to support them in return. I find myself at a crossroads. Traditionally, I've spent Christmas Eve at my mother's house to wake up there Christmas morning, mainly because it matters to her. Yet I feel my presence is more about mediating than celebrating, especially with my sister's history of causing scenes on Christmas Eve. Last year, despite receiving $4,000 worth of gifts she specifically requested, my sister was displeased with everything, resulting in a display of screaming, throwing presents away, and physical aggression. These experiences have led me to dread Christmas. This year, I expressed a desire to spend the holiday with my grandparents and visit my father, which was met with disappointment from my family. My grandmother conveyed that I am crucial to keeping my mother stable. Despite this, I questioned why I should prioritize spending time with a family that creates such a negative environment over my grandparents, who genuinely support me. My grandmother criticized this viewpoint, urging me not to share these thoughts with my mother and to simply endure the situation. While I understand this isn't about the financial disparity as much as it is about feeling used, I can't help but feel conflicted. My reluctance stems from trusting my grandparents' guidance. However, I wonder if the impact on me is minimized due to my mother's mental health issues and my sister's behavior being all she knows. Despite this, I feel it's crucial not to compromise on setting boundaries. So am I wrong for wanting to discuss this with my mother? If so, what should I do instead? I will respond to your comments before updating. Commenter, you want to be paid to go to her house for Christmas? Look, go be happy, but that is just not a good move. Essentially losing all class and character and blackmailing for your attendance. Just don't go. NTA for not wanting to go. But you would be if you paid that Pay Me card. My answer, I'm not asking for monetary gain. I'm asking them to stop using me as their support. Financial, emotional, etc. When they haven't shown me any since I moved in with them at 10 years old. It's always been this big deal of, well, you came out of it a better person and they can't help it, and you're out of it now. But I'm still suffering from the damage they caused. My sister suffers. My grandparents suffer. They suffer. But instead of owning up to anything, they'd all rather pretend to have another happy Christmas. I'm ready to bring everything to a head, but then comes the hard truth. I can't be the golden child with nothing in return but misery. Another commenter, which grandma is this? Why doesn't she support you being independent form you mother and trauma? You won't have them forever. Why don't they want you to spend the time with them who love you than with your spoiled sister? My answer? These are my maternal grandparents, although my grandpa is not my blood grandpa and not my mom's biological dad. Her dad denounced her on his deathbed. My mother has always had this jealousy when it comes to my grandparents, my grandma in particular. When under the influence, she's told me several times, I'm sorry I wasn't the mother you needed, or I'm your mom, not her. My grandmother, I think, parents from guilt a lot for my mom, because she's mentally ill and was an addict. We all sympathize with my mom and her situation of not being stable and stuck in a marriage we don't think she'd ever choose to be in now. However, I for some reason get the brunt of bearing the emotional load. My grandma does try to lessen it, but my mom wants me because having me around lessens her guilt, I believe. Another commenter, I get that another part of the problem is that your grandparents are asking you to do this to support your mother, their daughter, I'm guessing. It might be worth explaining that you need a break, or you're going to snap, and you don't want to add more drama to an already fraught situation. Frame it as a temporary break to your grandparents, just to get some breathing space until your mother's current family unit finds a new balance. That will probably end up being never, but at least it gives you time. And if they insist, suggest that they go and support your mother while you spend Christmas with your dad, if they want her load eased so much. They don't want to deal with your sister either, so that should help them understand what they're asking you. My answer? Yes, this is a big part of the problem. My grandparents have done so much for me that they shouldn't have had to do because I'm not their child. Yet they did. I will forever be indebted to them, and if they ask anything of me, I agree without hesitation. So what this situation really boils down to is that if I'm not there, the drama and emotional burden falls on my grandmother. She's elderly, sickly, and I just can't let them happen without some sort of plan. Update. Christmas unfolded in an unexpectedly pleasant manner, albeit for reasons one might not initially anticipate. I refrained from expressing any harsh sentiments towards my mother. Maximizing my time with my grandparents, I then embarked on a 3-hour journey to visit my mother and stepfather. The hospitality and warmth of my stepdad's family have always felt welcoming, making the time spent with them truly enjoyable. My mother and stepfather opted to leave the Christmas Eve gathering ahead of schedule. It was later revealed that my sister had prematurely opened all her gifts that day, prior to my arrival. Upon discovering she hadn't received everything she desired, she retaliated by throwing several of my gifts into the pool. Fortunately, the gifts she chose to discard were mostly cat toys for my pets, which suffered no lasting damage after drying out. That night, I stayed with my mother and stepfather while my sister was hosted by her aunt and cousins. The following morning, I opened my gifts in a peaceful setting before proceeding to visit my father. Given the context of our previous holidays, this experience was notably more serene. Regrettably, the situation did not progress positively from there. My sister's behavior appears to be deteriorating steadily. To provide some background, last year my sister sent me a distressing image of herself sporting a swollen lip, accusing our mother of causing the injury. Enraged, I immediately arranged for her aunt to collect her, insisting she should not return home under those circumstances and threatening to involve the authorities if necessary. Upon confronting my mother about the incident, I was confronted with the sight of her nursing a severe black eye, a result of an altercation with my sister. At that point, the specifics of who initiated the conflict seemed irrelevant. It was clear that such situations should never escalate to physical violence. My sister spent the summer with her aunt, during which Child Protective Services conducted an investigation, but found no evidence of abuse within the home. Both my mother and sister underwent therapy sessions following the incident. My sister has expressed a desire to return to our parents' home before the commencement of the school year. Currently, she seems to have realized that she can mistreat our mother without facing any repercussions. On 3 separate occasions, I've received phone calls that have shown my mother with black eyes, scratches, or bruises inflicted by my sister. I've even seen my sister forcefully remove a wig from our mother's head, causing her hair to be ripped out in the process. Our mother's self-esteem is already low, partly because her husband belittles her daily, and my sister exacerbates this by destroying anything that might boost her confidence. I've seen her pour Starbucks coffee into my mother's makeup bag, cut up her wig, and even throw glass mugs at her. The most recent call from my mother revealed yet another black eye. She explained that my stepdad attempted to discipline my sister by spanking her, but she merely scoffed in response. He also confiscated her phone, but only for a mere 2 hours. My stepdad fails to defend my mother, and she feels powerless and financially incapable of asserting authority over my sister. My sister has threatened to call Child Protective Services if they try to discipline her. When my mother reached out to me last time, I felt helpless and suggested options like boot camp, a mission trip, or cutting off her phone, suggestions I've made before without success. I've contemplated involving the authorities, but I'm uncertain about how seriously they take cases of child-to-parent abuse. Would I be in the wrong if I decided to take legal action? Edit. Maintaining a complete separation is virtually unfeasible for me. My grandparents have played a pivotal role in my life, and cutting off contact with my mom and stepdad would inadvertently place a significant burden on my grandmother. I am certain that if I were to go no contact, my mom would relentlessly pursue my grandmother in an effort to reach me. However, I am actively taking measures to minimize contact as much as possible. Edit 2. Just found out my sister's aunt, my stepdad's sister, was told about the abuse from my mom. My aunt would like to hold a meeting and intervention with the whole family, me and the parents included. I will not be part of the disciplining process, but I absolutely will be giving my 2 cents on everything. Come to find out, it's my aunt paying for my sister's very expensive school, and she's now threatening to pull her from that school if she does not agree to a 6-week anger management outpatient thing. My sister is incredibly snobby and has said before she'd rather die than go to public school. She also loves her cheerleading team. Relevant comments. Commenter. NTA. But get your mom to put up hidden nanny cams in her house so the next time your half-sister hurts her, it's on camera. And when half-sister pulls the CPS bullshit again, your mom will have footage in case she does call them. She can also take the footage to the police and press charges. Maybe juvenile detention or jail will teach the spoiled brat she can't just get away with everything. My answer: I've been telling my mom to record her, at least what she says in voice memos. But my sister gets my mom in such a tizzy she forgets to do it in the moment. I have a couple of recordings, but just of her being insanely bratty and mouthy. Nothing legally incriminating, sadly. A secret might do the trick if I can convince my mom to put it up. Another commenter: it sounds like your mother is desperate for your help, maybe even a way out, even if that only means a roof and 4 walls. My answer: I have tried to help as much as I can between my means. She doesn't want the advice or solutions I give her. She doesn't want to bring up the problem to anybody or do anything drastic, which I realize is also a pattern of abuse, but there isn't anything else I can do. I called CPS before and they found no abuse. If I called the cops, they'd all pretend like everything was fine. Another commenter: this is really just a sad situation. The only way I can really see to fix this is to have your mother and stepdad divorced, to just sever the tie of your awful stepsister. Or send her to a camp, but it's very unlikely. The way you're feeling is very real, your burnout of trying to put out fire on someone else's house. Unfortunate, but not your problem. Your mother's getting beaten by a child, and your stepdad wants a brat to like him before he dies. If you can't step away from the situation, at least protect yourself emotionally, and understand that really there's nothing you specifically can do to fix other people's lives. My answer: through therapy, I have begun the process of peeling away emotionally. I will always have sympathy and compassion for my family, for anyone, but I've realized there's nothing more I can do. I've come to terms with the fact I might have to always keep this part of my family at arm's length to truly be able to breathe. These are the final steps to keeping it that way until they change something. The sad part is my mom had made changes by leaps and bounds. She's quit alcohol, quit abusing her pills, gone to psychotherapy, and gotten her bipolar under control and stuck to it, etc. She is so much more controlled, and my sister and stepfather bring out the worst in her still, for their benefit. Another commenter, if you're in the States, many states have elder abuse laws. It sounds like stepdad qualifies. Not sure about mom. In FL, it's a felony. My answer, if I got them involved, my stepdad and mom would play dumb and deny everything. They're too embarrassed to bring shame upon themselves from what they've raised, sadly. How do you like this story? Write your opinion in the comments. Let's get 1,000 subscribers on this channel. Love you.